Yeah. Well, so there's the NoDogg thing actually came around when I was in high school. I've been using the we call it a handle or an avatar back when I used it back in the mid 90s. 1994 I came up with NoDogg. You'd like this because you're a sports guy.
Mm-hmm.
You remember Big Dog Glenn Robinson? I played a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
pickup basketball, and so it literally came from talking trash in the basketball court. You're no dog, you're no big dog, and it
Uh-huh.
literally just came from that. So that's where no dog turned.
That's fantastic.
But hi everybody, my name's Chad. Most people know me around in and around Mixer as NoDogg. I'm just a regular dude. I'm a husband and a father. I live in the suburbs of Indianapolis. I got to give a shout out to my wife. Her name is Destiny. In 2 days' time, she will have put up with me married for 20 years. So we'll have our 20th anniversary on Tuesday, which is absurd to me because I'm only 25.
What a saint.
No doubt. No doubt.
What a saint. 20 years, man. Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
so
incredible.
I'm super excited about that. We're gonna go out to dinner, just me and the missus, and then we're going on vacation a week from today. So super excited. We have a 12-year-old son. His name is Colton. He's on the autism spectrum. He is the coolest kid ever. I know you probably like your kids, but mine's better. I'm sorry.
Sure. That's
right. And then you probably see me in and around Mixer and the Xbox PUBG PUBG communities. When I'm not busy with my day job I'm a risk analyst by day. I own a couple businesses that I operate with my wife. I float around Mixer here and there, but I spend the large majority of my time in Delta's community, 1 Delta Street, and in God's community as well, engaging with their respective communities. And I float around visiting lots of other people, but that's where I spend most of my time.
Yeah, love it, man. Love it. Take us to the beginning. How did kind of what was where did the passion for gaming come from? How did that kind of evolve into the streaming industry, that side of things?
So video games have always been in my life. I think I'm like many of the folks of my generation. Like we grew up on them. So I'm 40 now. So I hit the early years. There was Atari and Intellivision and Nintendo and Sega. All of that came up when I was a young kid in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I know there were things prior to that in the late 70s and things of that nature. But my grandfather, my dad's dad, had a PC, and we would play, if you remember, Monkey's Island back in the day. You don't remember that game? Oh my God!
I don't.
Brush up. You definitely should.
Yeah, I've been console like whole life, so not
I'm
much
a
on the
console
PC.
kid
Yeah,
too. But excuse me, that's where my first memory of playing games was at my grandfather's house.
Oh wow!
And then my dad had an Intellivision. We played on the TV with the AV jacks, that whole thing.
Yeah,
an Atari. I was very heavily into. We were a Nintendo family. My brother and I still have. We're 4 years separated. My brother Jeff and I still have an argument to this day about. I wanted a Nintendo. He wanted a Nintendo. I wanted a Sega Genesis. We couldn't agree, so our mom didn't get us anything.
Of course.
Yeah, and so I've always had games in and around, but I got more heavily into gaming when Xbox came around.
Okay, sure.
The first Xbox came around, and then I really kind of got more into it. I was more an adult, had a little bit more free time, had some money to actually buy things. And then my brother, again, Jeff, he's 4 years younger than I am. He streamed actually early on in kind of the 1.0 streaming thing before his auto accident where he got injured. And I would follow him. That's how I came a part of Beam, which is now Mixer.
Mm-hmm.
I would follow him on there. And then the impetus to be more and more involved in Mixer today all goes back to PUBG. Everybody knows I'm a PUBG nut. I've got my PUBG PC back here in the background. You can see
oh yeah,
right here. I love the game. And I was awful at the game. I was truly bad. I'm older. I'm legally blind in one eye. I'm terrible with my reaction time. I can't keep up with these 20-year-old kids. There's Beard there in chat. And so I could not get past a certain point of skill level. And so I was like, okay, what can I do to get better? I thought, well, let's follow some of the things I do in business, which is to imitate, not necessarily impersonate, but follow what someone who's doing what I want to do in a better way, and see what they're doing and take from them what I can and build on my own skill set. And that's really just what I did. I started watching Hype Zone. It was crazy fun back then. And I just started getting involved in the PUBG community there. Still pretty bad compared to some of these other guys,
Right.
but I'm better than I was. So
Yeah. Where did that mindset come from? That mindset of, you know what, I can at least have the self awareness to say, I'm not where I want to be. Maybe let's swallow some ego, swallow some pride, go learn from, go,
yeah.
take some advice, could just go watch. Where did that come from? How did that get started for you?
Just life in general. We discussed briefly in the past. I do okay for myself now. I'm very happy with where I'm at in life.
Sure.
But when we grew up, we were poor, sometimes very, very poor. Um, and by that I mean like snuck extension cords from neighbors' house to have electricity.
Wow.
No
Yeah.
pants in the wintertime. Having to wear shorts in snow.
Wow.
Um, and from that, you can learn a very um, poor mindset, a toxic poison of scarcity, that you are
Yeah.
not going to have things. You have, it's all fear, right? It comes
Oh,
down
for
to
sure. Yeah.
a fear of failure, a fear of ridicule, fear of rejection, fear of missing out. And so I I changed that mindset through lots of years of practice, and I still have trouble with it today. Sometimes it creeps back in, and you have to fight it off. You struggle with it, but you learn the only way you're going to overcome and be better. You can either accept your circumstances, or you can try to rise above them. And I learned that
Yeah.
emulating someone who is doing the things that I want to do, living the type of lifestyle I want to live, is going to get me further than a fake it till you make it,
Mm.
or accepting where you're at. So, and then, mentoring and mentorship is a huge part of learning. And so I figured if I could learn these things through someone else who's done it, then that is a great way to improve my life in general. So that same sort of mindset, growing up, trying to make something of myself.
Yeah.
Same with the game. Okay, I can continue to die every fight I get into in PUBG because I've hidden in a bush for 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And oh, sure, I didn't die out at the beginning, but I'm never going to win the gunfight.
Yeah.
So as soon as the gunfight
Yeah.
happens, I'm dead. So I can either start taking my lumps, start learning from people, dying immediately, start getting better with my skill set to
Yeah.
where I can and improve, and go from there.
Take me, and there's so many good points that we're definitely going to come back to, but take me through, I guess, how'd you go from, that, unfortunate start, right? Kind of, that was the hand that you were dealt, you made the most of it. How'd you take it from there kind of into, risk analyst, that sort of thing, getting to where you are now? Because it is an uphill climb, and it can be, and I think you reference mindset, learning how to learn is important. But what were some of the big high points that you felt like for you that really allowed you to get yourself to where you are now?
Support of those closest to me. I think,
Sure.
I use a lot of quotes and phrases and mottos and things to try to remind people. But there's a very cliche: your network is your net worth, and I think that's true in business as well as in personal relationships. So the backside of that, or the opposite side of that, is those that are around you that drag you down or don't help you elevate. They will drown you. And so when they're going down, they're going to hold on to you as you're climbing up, and they're going to, bucket of crabs mentality. And it's one of those things where you have to sometimes love people from afar and support them when you can, but you can't sacrifice your own well-being and your own ability to move forward.
Yeah.
So you just go ahead and you do the best that you can, and you rely on your support systems. And luckily, even though we didn't have a lot, monetarily growing up, we had a fantastic support system.
Yeah.
My mom is awesome, always worked hard for us. Me and my brothers are best friends. My wife is incredible. Like, she's been there for me for 20, she's been in my life over 22 years now, married 20. And just wanting more. And then there was also a lot of, I learned what I didn't want, what I didn't have, and what I saw as being a negative, dysfunctional relationships, toxicity, things of those natures, that I wasn't going to allow that to be around my child someday. So I learned by, the opposite of what I wanted to happen. So we did a lot of just, breaking the cycle on stuff, and we still fail all the time, but try to be like, all right, this is not how a person should act or behave. So let's let's change that. What do we need to do to fix
Yeah,
it?
I think that can be one of the most challenging things for anybody trying to get themselves out of a situation, right? That they don't want to be in. And this doesn't, you don't have to be a child, you don't have to be, it doesn't matter if you're a child, adult, somewhere in between. If you're going to try and get yourself into a better situation, a lot of that is really going to start with who are you surrounding yourself with, right?
100%.
Who are you going to allow to influence you? And I imagine, based on what you just said there, you definitely selected some good people, but I imagine there were probably some hard conversations and some hard decisions that had to be made about, it's not that, I've got to tell somebody, I don't want anything to do with you or anything like that. But there is a difference between having somebody in your life and having somebody in your life that's having a lot of influence over you. Do you remember some of those big ones? Obviously not name names,
I
but
have
you remember some of those?
I have one perfect description, and love the guy to death. I wish nothing but the best for him. And my brother Beard will be in chat in a minute and be like, "Yep." But my best friend growing up, I met in 5th grade. We were friends. We could have been blood brothers. We could not have been closer. It's not possible.
Yeah.
All the way through high school, I'm the godfather of his child. He was one of the few people that was at my wedding.
Yeah.
And he diverged on a path that I wasn't really willing to follow. I don't want to get into details about it, but it's just not something I wanted to follow. And he was okay with it. And then one day I woke up and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I say this all the time to people as a description is at that day, I was like, man, he's been my best friend for 15 years.
Yeah.
And then it also hit me, he was actually my best friend 15 years ago. And so I was like, we're not the same. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, man. What a realization.
Yeah. And so I was like, my son is 12, I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Right around the time my son was born, we kind of lost touch. I keep tabs on him, and I think he does the same with me to make sure we're okay, but we don't really spend any time together any longer. He's never met my son. He's just not the type of influence I want around my family. I love the guy to death, but it is what it is.
So really interesting. So for those that are new to the show, my background's in high performance psychology. So I've got a graduate degree in psychology, and so kind of know all the research and apply that to high level athletes, and we kind of do our thing that way. The reason I reference that is there's a really powerful study that came out. I want to say it was like 5-6 years ago. One of the more impactful studies that took a look at like your environment, your system, the people around you. And we've had this theme, as you know, NoDogg, from watching a lot of the episodes, we've had this theme.
Yep.
This idea of your support system, right, and how important that is. This study actually came out, and it's been verified, and it's all legit. It made a conclusion that on average, people will become the average of the 5 people that allow them or that influence them the most, right?
Yep.
And again, it's not necessarily, part of that's who you surround yourself with for sure, but allowing other people to influence you. And honestly, that can be people that you're close to. That can be people that you're not close to. And I think I see that a lot, unfortunately, on this platform, that you see people being influenced, and being told a certain narrative, and they buy into that, and then they essentially just become the average, the very thing that they didn't want to be in the first place. But yeah, man, powerful story. To wake up and realize, and then also to make the decision and to execute on that. Yeah, man. To execute on that is, but again, I said this for a long time, right? I think an individual's life is really just a series of is really just the conclusion of 5 major decisions, right? You can really, I can look back at my life and kind of seeing where I'm at now, the people that I'm close to, look back at their lives, and even, close friends that I have that maybe aren't exactly where they want to be. And you can usually find 1 or 2 big decisions that kind of, over the grand scheme of things, led them to be in that situation. And good on you too, because to be able to be that age and to make that kind of decision is powerful stuff. But it also sets the tone for, how did you, when you think about, you had referenced in the beginning, this is the kind of life that I want, right? This is the kind of, this is where I want to be able to be, what I want to be able to think, what I want to be able to do, what I want to be able to feel when I wake up. How'd you, did that start way back when we had to run to
Yeah,
the neighbors and plug the cord in, and I mean,
yeah,
when were
100%.
some of that when did that some of that stuff come about? Because that's probably been some of the most powerful stuff for you.
Yeah, formative years, I think, influenced me a whole lot. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 2. And I'm 4 years older than my brother. So I was basically the man of the house. As a grade schooler,
Yeah.
we were very close, but also fought a lot. Now we're best friends in the world, but we and myself is heavily responsible for that, but didn't treat each other as well as we should growing up, just because like I said, we had a lot of dysfunctional relationships that we saw as young kids, not seeing things being the way they were supposed to be. But we also had some very good ones. My uncle Doug and Aunt Jan is a prime example, and they are very middle class, blue collar working. One's retired from a factory job, one worked in a billboard shop. But I would go visit them on the weekends, for example, and I would see their kids, which are very similar in age to my brother and I, and they had things that we didn't have. They could go out to the grocery store and buy certain types of foods that they wanted to have. They could go just run to Sears and pick up,
Yeah.
something that they wanted.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to not have to worry about ends meeting. I want to be able to have vacations. I want to be able to go out to dinner if I want to. I want to be able to provide that sort of lifestyle for myself and for my future family.
Yeah.
And so as a kid, I always had some sort of hustle. My brother and I would go out at different times. We would shovel snow, we would mow grass, we would go to our grandparents' house and do handy things around the house there. We held down the fort at home for mom. I knew how to do laundry and cook and clean and all. I could maintain a household before I was a teenager, before I could drive. I knew how to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I knew how to take care of simple math for like a checking account. But the converse side of that is I didn't know things about credit. I didn't know things about how important it was to pay things on time, how important it was to, when you signed a contractual agreement, to live up to the standards of that agreement or you'll be sued.
Yeah.
All of those things came to a head when I was very young. I think I was 21 and I had to file bankruptcy just because I had a credit card. I mean, I had money, right? I could swipe this and
This
I had no
plastic
idea.
thing is
And
limitless wealth.
yeah, I didn't realize the $50 monthly payment that I paid, that the minimum payment would make me pay for 1,000 years,
Yeah.
in a row, and I'm
Plus
never
the
going to pay it
interest that
off
you
with
were
the
accruing.
29% interest, plus
Yeah.
the APR, plus the
Yeah.
fee, plus.
Plus the
And
interest that you were accruing that month was 3 times the monthly payment as the minimum payment. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
any of that, but
Yep.
I always had some sort of way to make money outside of my day jobs. My day jobs went from, when I was in high school, I worked at Wendy's. I was a fast food worker,
Yeah.
and I, coming from absolutely nothing, not having any free money, I thought my $300 paycheck every 2 weeks, I was really doing something
Flush.
with
Yeah.
myself. I could afford sneakers. I could,
Yeah.
I could go out on a date, or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. I
Yeah.
had things to, I could put gas in my car and have things that I wanted. And then it just evolved from there, where you start to grow up and you're like, okay, do I want more than that? Do I want to be able to, you know, buy a ring for my fiance? Do I want to be able to go on vacation?
Yeah.
Do I want to leave my son something when I die?
Hmm.
I don't want him to struggle like I have. And I also don't want all the struggle I've had been in vain. I want to leave a legacy for him so that way he can continue to provide for his children or whatever comes forward in his life going forward.
Yeah.
So it's just always just trying to one up, one up, one up. I'm going to go off on a small tangent. I know I
Oh,
have
go
a
for it.
tendency to do this, so but you can pull
I've
me
got
back.
I've
But
got no time cap tonight, so you do your
but
thing.
so there's I use a lot. We've talked about self improvement, or a lot of people self help. They'll give it a negative connotation, but there's
Yeah,
some
we're gonna touch on
concept
that.
called kill your clone, and the
Oh,
concept
yeah.
is pretty much that if we're in a time travel movie or something, and your clone was created 24 hours ago, and it comes up to you and challenges you to a fight to the death. What have you done in the last 24 hours to prepare yourself to beat your clone? how have you made yourself better today? Have you
Mm.
been better mentally, physically, spiritually? What is it that you've done that's going to be better than 5 minutes ago? And then the same thing with your future self in 5 years. Like, train like your future self in 5 years is going to come back into the past and take you out. Terminator T2 type stuff. And
Yeah.
it's just continuing to want more, and you can totally get complacent. I've
Yeah.
I've, I've done it. I try to be content
Yeah.
in what I have and
Yeah.
have gratitude for it, but not
Yeah.
be complacent.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I hate complacency. I hate
Yeah,
it.
it's gross.
It's interesting. I mean, you said, this idea, that these self-help books, right? That they have
Yeah. I hate that term.
they have this negative connotation. Here's the thing. I think, I will laugh at those people. Anybody who says like, "Oh, you're reading one of those books, really?" You're reading, and it's like, I'm just gonna laugh at them, because here's the thing, right? Before the standardized Western education system, right? Before we just all woke up, went to school from 7:30 to 3:30
for factory workers,
right? Which ironically enough also fit the schedule of the factory workers. So people can go run down the research about the origins of like our actual Western education system. But before all that, right? Back in the 15, 16, 17, 1800s, how do people learn? How do people learn? In the way that you learned a craft, or you learned a trade, or you really learned anything. What'd you do, NoDogg?
Master and apprentice.
You went to somebody who already knew how to do that, and you learned from them, right? And I think if that's the whole reason behind this show. We had so many people come to our community, asking us for tips and pointers, and hey, should I do this 100%. And do that? And those are the people that at least give themselves a chance, right? And it's the people who try and think that I've got it all figured out, I know everything. Those are the ones that, like, they're really going to struggle. They're going to find that ceiling, and it's going to be a really hard ceiling to break through if you just don't look around and say, can I ask for help? It is still, in my opinion, probably the best way to learn anything is to go to somebody who knows what they're doing and ask them about it,
Yep. 100%. And that's from anything from cooking. In theory, probably the best cook in your family is your grandma, because she's been doing it the longest, right? And she probably taught your parents, hopefully your parents, know how to cook. And then, it's the same sort of thing. Whether you're a blacksmith, whether you're a welder, whether you are learning digital media and brand building and stuff like that. I had mentioned the quote earlier of, you want to imitate someone but not impersonate them. So go find someone who's doing what it is that you want to do successfully. Take from them what you can, make it your own, and then do your thing. Don't try to be them. Don't plagiarize anything. Don't steal anything for them, for God's sake. But follow what they're doing in their work ethic and the types of, if they're posting 5 times a day on Instagram, post 5 or post 6. So find someone who is a good example, a good role model. And if that's not regularly available in your life, there's a plethora of people to model. If you're not a very well-read person, which is who I was I didn't read very many books in school. I probably read 2 books all the way through high school. And I can read well, and I can comprehend well, but I read slow. So I overcome that through Audible. I have an Audible subscription every month. I get a token. I listen to audiobooks and podcasts all the time.
You want another good one for you, since you like that? Blinkist. Blinkist.
I don't know that one. Okay.
So it's just Blink IST, and this is
another pro tip. Keep this handy.
So Blinkist is a great one. So Blinkist will take kind of all those nonfiction books, and they'll turn them into like a series of blinks, right? That's the whole gimmick, right? But basically, so like Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? That book is this thick, and it's got stories in it. But if you just want the meat and not even the meat and potatoes, just the meat of it. Go to Blinkist, and they'll break it down into like 10 or 12 blinks, and it's 15 minutes. And I can say that I've read like 50 books in
you can at least keep
in a month
on what's going on, because there's so much. Like, I actually have a list of
Today's got it there in the
that
chat.
I made them in my notes that people should read, like Dave Ramsey and Tim Ferriss and Jordan Belfort and Tony Robbins, and we talked about Jocko. I can always miss
Jocko Willink.
All these guys have great points, but if you don't have the time or capacity to read hundreds of pages or 10 hours worth of audiobooks, because some people, like, I have the luxury, I work from home now, thank God. so I can listen to a podcast while I'm typing away on my keyboard or what have you.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that.
Yep.
They have 15 minutes on Blinkist. That's incredible. That is chat. You should definitely take him up on that and look that place up for sure.
You had said, take a look at somebody, and especially, I guess, kind of in your market, and you use the word imitation. I mean, the adage is imitation's the highest form of flattery that there is, right? And I would even encourage to take it a step further, right? Like life is in business, right? And this whole concept of this entire show is that your stream is a business. Business is about competition. Yep. And what you should do is, I'll even challenge NoDogg here. I think you can take it a step further. I think you can look at what somebody's doing, and if you recognize a way of like, I think I can make a better version of that, or I think I can do that better, right? Yes. And are people going to get upset at you? I don't know. Who cares? It's not my problem, right? It's like,
about that anyway.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, I don't want to imitate anybody. But what I do want to look at is like, wow, that guy's got a really good idea, or that lady's got a really good philosophy.
Right.
Does that apply to me? Can I adapt that? Right. Can
Taxis
I make
an Uber?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean,
Uber absolutely disrupted taxis.
Yeah. You think taxis are happy?
Made it better.
You think the taxi cab associations are happy?
Nope.
You think Uber cares? No. No. I bet they don't.
They're sad all the way to the bank.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. I mean, and I think too, I think there's a study that came out, like the average CEO reads 50 to 60 books a year, like actually reads them cover to cover. And I don't have time. I don't have time to like read a book cover to, I can probably get through like 1 or 2 a month. But the wonderful thing is, and this kind of ties back to what you had said earlier, kind of about like, I just didn't know. I didn't know that those credit cards were really just like, just like the siren on the beach, like luring my ship to its death, right?
100%,
like they didn't know that. And it was interesting. I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast. It was his most recent one. We're not sponsored by Joe Rogan, so it's just a plug to him. His most recent one with Kevin Hart. And Kevin Hart has been doing a lot of stuff like with the black community, in the underprivileged kind of like black African American community. And one of the things that he said in the podcast is he goes, we just didn't know. I just didn't know. I just didn't have the information. We didn't know about stocks and bonds. We didn't know about credit. We didn't know about interest. It's just like, if you had money, you were good. If you didn't, you weren't. Right. And never has there been an easier decade or easier era to get information. Podcasts are 100% free. If you can't afford the book, generally that person, if that really good book, generally that person's been on a podcast and he'll talk a ton about his book, right? Yep. I mean, there's so many ways to get information. This whole show is just nothing but information.
There's no excuse to be ignorant in today's society.
No, there isn't. There isn't. There's no.
I'll hedge a slight amount.
Sure.
If you for some reason don't have access to the internet.
Sure.
If there's no access to the internet, there's no fault of your own.
Sure.
Okay, you get a pass.
Yep.
If you have access to the internet and the will to learn, there's nothing to stop.
Push you there. Public libraries have access to internets.
100%. Let's go.
And library cards are free, right? Library cards are free.
Absolutely.
And I am especially partial to libraries. So when I started my first company, the service-based business, I had to meet one-on-one with people. And I didn't want to tie myself to an overhead, right? But I also, it would have been stupid. It would have been very ego-driven to be like, all right, I'm a business owner. I need an office. I need a nameplate. My name's got to be on the door.
Put my name on the door.
Put my name on the door. And we have that. I mean, we have that in so many aspects. But that would have been a tremendous mistake to open like a brick and mortar location. 100%. So what did I do? There were libraries scattered all across Denver, and thank you to the marijuana tax, all of those have been completely refurbished, and every single one of them has like 10 to 15 study rooms that has a monitor, that has a whiteboard, that has a desk and a table and chairs and a door that I can close, and that's all that I needed. Yep. And so you have to do things like that. There's people on here that have come onto this show that said, Rod was on here, a while ago, and it said, I was just streaming off my laptop. It's what I had. I made it work. I made it happen. And so, man, I mean, I think it's really, really hard, I think, for somebody to tell me that, like, they can't get access to something or they can't do that, right? Or at least have access to the information,
Right.
So
I agree.
Yeah. Man, that was a nice little sequence there. You had mentioned earlier this idea of the scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
What do you see that come up in this industry? Do you see like this scarcity mindset pop up in the industry?
I think it's very prevalent in today's society in general.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um,
Yeah.
even more so in a lot of the um, Gen X, Gen Y, millennial folks, just
Sure.
because I think it was instilled to them, not to lay blame solely on the boomers, but they had a way of being raised of, don't trust banks, put money in a mattress, work a factory job,
Yeah.
all of these types of things because of the recession and
Yeah.
the things that happened in the 20s and the 30s,
Yeah.
the world wars, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of evolved over a few generations where everybody's worried that something's going to go bad, something's going to go
Mm-hmm.
wrong. And I think it
Yeah.
stems a lot from
Yeah.
there societally. But then it gets worse depending on how you're raised and your influences, like you said, the 5 people who influence you the most, all of these types of things, because it once you breed that negativity, it just continues to grow
Mm-hmm.
and it's like cancer. It just continues to metastasize and spread throughout families and
Mm-hmm.
people's relationships and stuff, because what happens is you get this negative self-talk, and I'm fear of being ridiculed. Well, if you are a natural born winner and you naturally don't care
Mm.
about someone else's opinion of you, and you can go out there and fail and shrug it off, you are a leg up of a lot of people who deal with insecurities
Mm-hmm.
and the fear of being ridiculed and things of that nature. But what you can do is focus on your mindset and the position that you're in and try to get past all of that and realize that a failure, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
is just you. If you take that as a learning experience and say, okay, this is what I didn't need to do. I made a
Yeah.
mistake here because I used credit cards
Mm.
when I shouldn't have. I need to actually build credit. So, and learning to use them as a tool rather than an actual, financial transaction, things of that nature. Learning that, you don't have to necessarily keep up with the Joneses. You don't have to have what they have. You need to do some self-evaluation. What's important to you? What is it that you need? What is it that you want?
Yeah.
All of these types of self-reflection, I think a lot of people worry too much about what other people's opinions are. They
Oh, without a doubt.
strongly
Yeah.
strongly vested in what someone else. I'll have to paraphrase it, but then, like, spending money I don't have to impress people I don't like. That's
Mm-hmm.
that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Like, do you have a car that will get you to work? Great.
Yeah.
Do you the brand new
Yeah.
sports car? No. Do you need a second car? No.
Yeah.
Are you willing to make sacrifices to do things? It's being a lot of honest with yourself and those people around you, and I think a lot of honest conversation having fixes a lot of this.
Yeah.
Giving your closest support system the cover to be honest with you and be like, listen, this is what I see. We were talking earlier, it's hard to find your leaks, right? So, like, you can evaluate
Yeah.
yourself all day, but you're going to be blind to some of your I can't think of the word I want to use now, but
Like biases.
your biases and
Yeah.
things where you are missing, how to truly give an objective evaluation of yourself. So you got to go to your significant other, you got to go to your friends, your coworkers, your clients. What am I doing well? What am I doing bad?
Yeah.
I want you to give me the God's honest truth as you see it. I'm not going to hold anything that you say against me, because the goal is for me to improve myself, my service, our relationship, whatever the case may be. Go. And you may not get the correct forthright answer the first time you tell your friends and family that, because they're going to be like, he's not going to like that I hate his food, or that I hate his attitude when he drinks, or whatever it is that you have a personal flaw that they think that you have, and you have all the right in the world to disagree with them. But the more times you come to them and say, I need this honesty from you, you're safe to tell me this honesty, I need it, eventually they're going to get to the point where they trust that you really want the honesty, and they're going to tell you what it is that is the truth, and ultimately what you need to hear.
Isn't social comparison just a pain in the ass?
It really is.
Social comparison, man, in the world that we live in, is just a breeding ground for social comparison. I mean, social media is like just nothing but it's not reality. It's just everything's filtered, edited.
Like reality TV.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And again, it's like you had talked about too. It's like people who really struggle with like whether it's the keeping up with the Joneses or what are other people going to think of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the athletes that I work with are a little bit younger, right?
Sure.
And this is one of the conversations that we really have to have with a lot of them, is this idea of social comparison and this idea of, all right, well, I've got a gymnast and she has come so far, right, from where she was, right? Like she was level 9, she's made the jump to level 10, which for those of you who aren't as familiar with the Olympic structure, level 10 is as high as you go. You can qualify for the national team once you can execute all the elements or all the moves that you need to at level 10. So she's gone from 9 to 10, one of the hardest jumps to make.
She's worthy of the Olympics.
Yeah.
That's great.
But she's not happy.
Right.
Because her best friend, well, she scored higher on every other meet this year. Well, my friend is doing this, or this person over here is scoring a little bit higher. And well, now why is that so destructive, right? Because essentially she just achieved something that's a jump that, like, I mean, 80% of, well, more than that, like 90 to 95% of gymnasts won't make that jump. They won't make that jump from 9 to 10.
Yeah,
like
it's one of
the hard, but she's unhappy because of what everybody else is. So what has she just done? She's just told herself, right, and told her subconscious that, hey, all this stuff, all this hard work that you just did, that's a bad thing.
Doesn't matter.
All this growth, all this process. I see this all the time with streams.
Awful.
Right? I see this all. I've told this story once. I'll tell it again here in a second. But the easiest metaphor is, we got a little puppy upstairs. We got a puppy. Well, she's not little anymore. She's like a year and 4 months, and she's like 90 pounds. Right? Little Bernese mountain dog, and her name's Bella. Imagine when I'm training Bella to go outside to go to the bathroom, right? That she goes outside and she, does her thing where she needs to, where she's supposed to. She doesn't have an accident inside. And she's doing that, and she's just doing great, right? Hasn't had an accident in like 3 months. And then she goes outside and does her thing, and I take a cold bucket of ice water and douse her with it.
Right.
What's going to happen? I ain't doing that anymore. That's what we do. That's what we do. And it has nothing to do with what the actual process was, what the actual
100%.
growth was, how much we've actually succeeded, right? It's just, you've just told yourself that's all a bad thing. You've just associated doing like a productive process and something that was great and productive and healthy for you as something that's painful, right? You've just engaged the pain centers of the brain when you've been doing the right thing. That's not going to work, right? Great example. I told this story in probably the 4th or 5th episode. Had a streamer in our community, right? And he's sitting there and he's just all down in the dumps, right? Down in the dumps. Dream's not growing, but doing this. And he had told me, a while ago, he goes, man, if I can just get like 5 people to watch me just on a consistent basis, I'd be really happy. Fast forward to this conversation, and he's all down in the dumps. And I message him. I'm like, what's your view count say right now? It said 10. Hit 10 people. Double. Yeah. So you, like I said, you asked the world for what you wanted. The world responded with 2x that, and you're upset because somebody else is growing a little bit faster.
They had 15.
Or somebody else is like, somebody else got more embers that week, or somebody else got a host that you didn't, or all this other crap,
don't
right?
Understand it.
And
so
every
hard.
single time, you're just taking a cold bucket of ice water on your motivation, happiness, fulfillment, any sort of drive that you have, and just being like, nope, we're not about that. Oh man, I see that so much.
It's so frustrating too, because negative thoughts, I still deal with them, from my upbringing and things as a youth. I still sometimes like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this, or I may not succeed at that. And I've learned to combat them. It's, you have to willfully upfront decide, okay, when those things start coming in, you immediately battle it. You're like, okay, nope, screw that. What am I doing that's positive? What am I doing that's making a difference in my life? And a lot of times I find it to be rooted and grounded in gratitude. A very close friend of mine, he's also one of our business partners, does a gratitude post on his Facebook every single day, and posts like 3 to 5 things that he's grateful for. It'll be something as simple as, his wife made stir fry the night before and it was delicious. To, he had these incredible meetings or business deals or what, it can be the biggest or smallest of things. And just, and the science behind it and the medical way better than I could ever explain it, but you literally can change your brain.
Yeah, so with the hallmark study behind that is, I think it was somebody at Harvard. I think that the journal came out of Harvard Med or something like that. It was a big Ivy League. It was Harvard or whatever the other ones are.
Yeah.
Journal came out, and what they did was they went down to Florida to a facility where there was patients with clinical depression, right? So if you are clinically depressed, that is an imbalance of firing in this portion of your brain, right? So one side, it has more electrical activity than the other. So you can literally measure if somebody is depressed or not. So they had, took 50 people that were clinically depressed, and they ran a study on those people, and they didn't give them a pill. They didn't give them any sort of counseling. They didn't give them any of the traditional, I guess, interventions is what we call them in kind of my world.
Yeah.
What they did do is 3 times a day, every single day for 365 days, they had to come up with, so morning, midday, and evening, come up with, what are 3 things that I'm grateful for? 3 unique things that I'm grateful for. And after a year, the imbalance that was shown on the EEG was corrected. So it quite literally can rewire your brain, right? And if we can maintain a balance up here in terms of electrical firing, not to get too far down the sciencey road, but it quite literally, I mean, this is where this portion of the brain is where your decision making comes from, where your reasoning comes from, where how you interpret situations, right? How efficiently, got a fly flying around here. How efficiently can you make those decisions? It's quite literally the efficiency portion of your brain, right? It's where your creativity, critical thought, all those things. And if we just break it down to how well can you process information, how well can you be creative, and the kind of decisions that you can make, well, that's pretty important for just about anything that you're trying to do, whether it's streaming or anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, did you try some of that yourself? Did you start doing some of that? That's pretty cool.
So yeah, see. I mean, I've done a lot of that. Like I will literally be like, and don't get me wrong, there are days I'm just like, man, woe is me, life is awful.
Oh yeah. And
then I look like, bro.
Yeah.
Stop being a bitch. Like, just stop it. Because, it's just no.
Yeah.
Like, I live a life and a lifestyle that is better than almost all of humanity in all of written history.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Like, it's first world problems. I have nothing outside of detrimental health to friends and family.
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned this to you, but some of Delta's community knows this. My father had a mild heart attack on Friday. Oh. I was in the worst mood Delta's probably ever seen me in on Friday. Like, he was legitimately concerned about me. It was awful. I knew he was okay. He was all right. He was at the hospital. He had the things that he needed. I could not force myself past the negative thoughts and feelings and concerns. I couldn't get there. I soon got there Saturday. I'm doing much better today. But outside of that, I mean, I literally don't have a care in the freaking world.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't. Like, my friends are good, my family's good, business is good, and even if they're not good, I can get them good.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much I can't overcome, and the only person I have to worry about putting something in my way is me.
Yep.
There's a philosophy, a guy that I know, his name, he goes by Master Chim. He's a martial arts guy. He's in New York. He also does a lot of building of mindset. He trains high level athletes, MMA guys. And one of the things that through some of his conversations with people in general, and then one-on-one stuff that we've had, myself and him, I decided to homeschool my son several years ago. But one of the things that he said that really stuck with me: everything's your fault. I said, what?
Just unconditional accountability
for everything. It doesn't matter if it's not. It's still your responsibility, because who else is going to fix it?
Yeah.
It is easier to fix a boat than calm the seas.
Sure.
You cannot wish a problem away.
Right.
You can hide from it. It's going to get worse. It may go away, but not because you wished it did. That's just how the events played out. Right. So your only option is to do it. Hey, Bug, I see you in chat there, buddy. That's my nephew.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, there's not anything that we can't do other than the limitations we put on ourselves.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Like we all, like, I'm never going to be LeBron in basketball, but I
Right.
can get better.
Right. Oh, the fact of the matter is you don't need to be. Right. You don't
Right.
even need you don't even need to be. I think that's the thing too, right? Is
Right.
you don't even need to be the best business in your space to do just fine. Right?
No.
I am not the best
Right.
high performance psychology, expert in my field. I'm not the best, right? I know enough. Right, I know enough. I'm constantly looking to get better, and I might not even be in the top 50. Don't really know. Don't really care. Right? We don't get a power ranking for what I do, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Right?
Right.
What matters is am I adding value? Right? Is my business add value? Am I keeping the lights on? No different than with you, right? And so an aspect of that too is just like what's in your control and what isn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Focus on what you control, what you can't, and you use a term that I think a lot of people need to get very comfortable with, and that's value. Because I think almost everything in life, whether it be financial, relationships, business, anyway, it's all value. It's either you're adding value, you're extracting value, it's in a value exchange. It all comes down to what can you bring. And so a philosophy that I like to bring is I want to add more value to every single relationship I have, whether it be friends, family, romantic, whatever the case may be. Then I take out. Gary Vee talks about 51-49. I want to give 51% of the relationship and take 49 back. And if I can skew that more to them, even better. I want to be in a situation in my life, in every situation, to where you say to yourself, I'm glad NoDogg was here. Or shit, I wish NoDogg was here.
Yeah.
NoDogg would know what to do. If NoDogg doesn't know what to do, he knows how to figure out what to do.
Or he knows somebody who knows what to do.
Yeah. Or how to get the tools to know what to do.
Right.
I want to improve everything I touch, so I could make more money doing other things.
Yeah.
But part of the business, what we do is helpful to people. We add value to people's life. We enrich people's life. We help them with their businesses. They help us with ours. Win-win is the only way for me. I would rather lose business and lose money than do something that's not ethical, not forthright, not something that's good. So at this stage in my life, I do not want to do I don't want to do anything that's not a win-win. Like if I'm not winning and who I'm working with also winning, it's a waste of my time.
Yeah. Why don't you at a very high level, why don't you introduce kind of like what is your business? Because I know you're a risk analyst, but then more so for this conversation, the stuff that you do, your business on the side. So 10,000 foot overview. What's the company? Don't be afraid to. I'd actually ask you plug the company. Where can they find your stuff at? What is the side business before we dive into the business technical side? Let everybody know kind of what it is that you're doing and where they can find it.
So my day job, I'm a risk analyst. That's what I do day to day. I've been with my company. I had my 17-year anniversary with the company. I work for an insurance company back in April, so I've been with them a very long time. I've been working from home since 2012. We started our business in 2015. My last name is Taylor, and so we did a play on words, I Taylor Solutions, and it's basically just us helping other small and upcoming businesses with process improvements, with figuring out how to bring their business into a more modern way of doing business. We do a lot of strategy. We run marketing plans, ads, brand building, all that kind of stuff. That's the first major.
What's the website? What's the name of the website?
It's itaylor.solutions. It's just a simple website, but there's a few things on there about what we do. It's got a picture of me and the missus on there, a way for you to contact us, that sort of thing. And the prime function of what we do is to help others increase and scale and do the things that they want to do with their business because they are not either technically or confident enough to do and learn on their own, or sometimes it's just they just don't have the time. I know guys who are completely capable of going paperless, but they just would rather pay somebody to do it. It's just easier for them to farm that out. And then the second business that we have is called Child Renewed. I don't have a website or anything for it, but it's built into what we do with our business partners for stem cells. My wife is
Mm-hmm.
a stem cell coordinator and a managing partner of a clinic here in Indianapolis, and they provide stem cell and regenerative medicine therapies to people with all sorts of issues. It could be muscular, and
Yeah.
it could be bone on bone knees. It could be all sorts of things.
Sure.
But with our son being on the autism spectrum, we started a business specifically to provide low cost um, regen medicine and stem cell therapy to kids on the spectrum. So basically, we provide it for them at cost. We've worked with vendors and contacted them, and we don't add overhead to it. Something may cost X
Sure.
dollars in the normal clinic for a full paying customer, but there's a child on the spectrum who's looking for regen med to help them overcome some of their issues and help them and their family. We do it at cost, and
Wow.
we've had people all over the country fly in to have services with us and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a really close thing to our heart, and
For
that's
sure.
what my wife does full time is
Yeah.
stem cell therapy stuff. So.
Yeah. Wow. I want to talk so much about that, but we're definitely not going to have time to do. Oh
Tonight.
man, it's not tonight. Yeah, for sure. The iTailor solution. So what is kind of the big value add that you guys do when it comes to that?
So my biggest thing is I want to take any amount of money that they provide me and show them that it's not only a fee that they're paying, but it's an investment into their business.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal is to try to 10x as much as possible.
Yeah.
A lot of that comes from advertising. So
Sure.
I will literally break down, what is your average customer spend with you? What do you need to make? Here's your ad spend.
Yep.
Give them examples of what they can do. We bring to them legitimate advertisement, so we will run the functional advertisement that you see when you're scrolling through Facebook. Every 5 posts an advertisement pops up and it'll say sponsored, and whatever will be there. We'll do their targeted marketing for them.
Okay. Yeah.
Drip campaigns and emails, following up with their customers, setting consultations, just helping them understand the ins and outs of social media, because the psychology on social media is different depending on what platform you're on. If you're on Instagram, your psychology is different than if you're on Facebook, than if you're on TikTok or whatever.
Yeah, why don't you actually talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's important, because obviously those are platforms that are used by, other streamers in this industry.
Sure. So Twitter, for example, is highly used in streaming. And I think the way I look at it is Twitter is the office's water cooler. It's where you talk about the politics of the day, current events, chit chat with one another, drop by and say hi, that sort of stuff. That's what I see Twitter as. It's the text messaging, it's the water cooler, right?
Yep.
And so then I think of Instagram as where you kind of floss, you flaunt, you show off the ideal. What we're talking about, it's not really reality. We have people going out on vacations to these exotic locations just to get the selfie with the Golden Gate Bridge, or in Hawaii, or whatever the case. They're not really focused on, they're out there setting a status symbol, and I think that's what Instagram is used very well for. It's very image based, so you want good lighting, good angles, and then they've recently started, by recently I mean the last couple of years, started introducing stories, where that is kind of your quick bait to get them onto your page. So the psychology there is people are looking either to compare or to get inspiration of what the ideal is.
Yeah.
So whatever the ideal stream setup looks like, or beautiful women, muscled up dudes, all of these type of stuff. That's what Instagram. Facebook is aging up, so it's definitely an older crowd.
Yep.
But Facebook gaming is coming on really strong. A lot of what we've done has been related to Mixer, because that's the platform we're on. It's the platform we know. But there are other big competitors that are not just Twitch. YouTube is coming on strong. Facebook is coming on. So there's all of these different social media tools, and you just have to basically, when you design a piece of content, streamers are also content creators, right? So they not only have the video game in the background, but they are performing.
Mm-hmm.
They're a show
Yep.
in and of themselves. And
Yep.
some of them don't even use video games. There's cooking, there's dancing, there's
Sure.
body paint,
Sure.
whatever
Yeah.
the medium is, right?
Yep.
When you create a piece of content, and you can break a single piece of content up, you can take your VOD and with video editing technology, whether you have the skills to do it yourself or you hire it out, whatever the case may be, you can take that out and move them to multiple social media pieces and make it to where it's queued for that particular audience. YouTube, it's going to be a highlight reel. If you're a really good gamer like Gaga, you've got your crazy 360 no scope jumping off of a building, all these crazy plays that he makes. On Instagram, you're going to want a picture of you with your cool computer in the background. You're going to want, on Facebook, you're going to want to talk to people about, what Facebook wants to talk about as far as, aging up. Hey, we've got PUBG dads because, PUBG's demographic is aging up as well. There's a lot of 30-year-old married fathers. So, just gear what you're saying to your audience. And I think that's important in all of business, but it's also imperative in social media. So that way, who you are addressing is receiving your message.
Man, that was a lot of gold. So just to recap, because that was really, really good. I mean, Twitter, more of the water cooler kind of text message type feel. Sounds like Instagram, you're looking for something a little bit more feeling based, right? Like you're trying to
100%.
convey some sort of palpable feeling or emotion, right?
Yep,
and then
exactly.
Facebook, you're just got to understand that you're going to be playing to like an older crowd. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. That's fantastic. Yeah. How do you, especially with like a lot of the stuff that you do, and now we start to take a lot of those tactics and apply them to streaming.
Sure.
You talked a little bit about content, and this is something that I'm a big believer in too, and is finding ways to maximize content, right? Because I do see a lot of people putting so much effort into a piece of content that goes to a VOD and then 15 days later it disappears and you never get any more value out of the content that you did, right? What would to somebody who's kind of currently existing that way or kind of operating their business at that efficiency level, what would be some of the things that you would suggest to them? And then why would you make those suggestions?
So one of the first things I would do is I always have, I did it earlier, paper and pen handy.
Mm-hmm.
It's important for a lot of reasons. One, you may have a brilliant idea and you're going to lose it. So jot it down, come back and revisit it later. But when I'm modding, for example, if something happens in Delta's stream and he says something hilarious, which he does all the time, he says something funny, he says something witty. If it comes to me, I'll send him a whisper and immediately and say, you could make that a shirt. You could do this. You could do that. Yeah. And then timestamp what just happened, because you can go back and you can clip it. He actually has a shirt that says, I think, shoot first, clip it and ask questions later or something along those lines.
Sure.
So you could literally clip 30 seconds of that and you can go back and play it for Twitter, and then you can have that water cooler conversation. Oh, I was doing this, and or somebody came in and said follow for follow, hardy har har. Let's laugh the follow for follow guys. Yeah. Right. And so you get that conversation going. So that builds your brand within the community on Twitter, because people get to know your name, get to know your sense of humor, and then you just kind of build on that. Then you take a really cool, like he was chugging. I'm using him as an example because I don't consider myself a streamer. I stream from time to time. I don't have a lot of content. I do it as a hobby and just a way to hang out with my friends that are on Mixer and on PUBG. So I'm using other people. But he was chugging a beer and killed a dude, and I thought it was hilarious. He was like, I just chugged a beer with one hand and killed a dude with another hand, and so I immediately was like, tag that beer company in a tweet. Still hasn't done it. Go do it.
I just looked right at the chat like Delta.
But
that's fantastic.
Those types of things, those highlights are incredible for a 30-second video or whatever, because when you run analytics on video ads, you will see the average viewer is watching 1 to 3 to 5 seconds of a video, and if you don't get them on the hook, I mean that fast,
right,
they're out of here unless they're interested or know you. Whatever the case may be, you need to grab their attention right now.
Yeah.
So if you can do that, then you can have a longer one in. You can take that same VOD, and if you had in a 5-hour stream, let's say you had one incredible game.
Mm-hmm.
Gaga, for example, had a 34 kill game on PUBG. I'm using PUBG all the time as a reference because that's my wheelhouse
It's all good.
of knowledge. But a 34 kill game, that's insanity. Most
Yep.
squads don't get a 34 kill game. It's an individual game. He took that down, took that one game, uploaded it to YouTube. So now people can watch that and watch the entirety of that one incredible game.
Yeah.
And then you can take those things and distill it down even further. You can take his 10 best kills. Now you have a highlight reel. You can put that on. And then I've been after people who are on Mixer it sounds silly because we think of it as being 9-year-old girls and 13-year-old kids on TikTok. TikTok is, if you look at the numbers, TikTok is going incredibly fast. It is on fire right now.
Yep.
People may or may not know, but I actually had my eye on TikTok a few years ago. It used to be called Musical.ly. It was bought and switched to TikTok, and it is similar to what Vine used to be 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's the immediate funny. It's a short. It's a parody. And there are so many things that you can do. People should be looking at that. Now, if it's not for you and you're not interested, that's fine. But you should not dismiss it out of hand.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely look at diversifying yourself on all sorts of social media because, and I think we intend to get to this conversation at some point. We're already already going. But getting into a point where you're not begging for donations to earn money is what everyone needs to be, because you're at the whim of someone having disposable income to just give you $5, $2. A lot of people don't even see that donating should be a thing. Eventually, if you become a partner, there's some revenue shares with subs and things of that nature.
Sure.
But you should not wait for that. There is absolutely no reason you should not start bringing in additional lines of revenue. And you can do that by, one, building your brand as a whole through other social media platforms. And then those platforms have ways of generating money as well. And the more you build your brand, the more you are known as a whole, as an entity, not NoDogg on Mixer. I'm NoDogg. I own NoDogg.com. Like it's me. It's my brand.
Yep.
So it needs to be where you can go out and say, all right, how can I myself bring money in? You can do that by selling other people's products. You can be promoting. You can do sponsorships. You can sell your own things. It all comes down to a lot of the same things that other businesses have. You sell a good or a service, and why do people want to buy from you? And you need to really consider all of those things.
Yeah. You're talking about value there.
100%.
3 steps back before we get into affiliate sponsorships, selling products, building an audience, right? Yep. And this is something too, because generally, my impression of like kind of your business and that sort of thing is you're going to run ads, you're going to run, just all forms of advertising, trying to get exposure, trying to pick up leads. Generally those leads would then go to some sort of, that's your lead magnet. That lead would then go to some sort of product or some sort of, it kind of gets them into, damn funnel thing again, right?
Right, the funnel.
The end of the funnel that's been overused, and hell, I've even talked about it, but into the funnel, and then that all filters down, and eventually, hopefully it spits out a client or somebody who buys your program or course or product or whatever it is, right?
Right. Yep.
I heard it really well put, that if you have an audience, you can do literally anything that you want. If you don't have an audience, you can't do anything. Nope, and I think that's incredibly, incredibly important for people to understand, because I do think as we transition into this conversation, I do think a lot of people, when they think about streaming and they think about Mixer in general, or just Twitch or any other platform, they think of, I'm going to make money when I get partnered, right? And then that's going to generate sponsorships. And I think that's a cold wash of reality for a lot of people who think that. But also, that's a long time to wait, right? Yep. I mean, let's say that you're kind of, you're above average, right? And it takes you 6 months to a year to get to your 2,000 followers, and then maybe you get denied once, and you're looking at like a year and a half, right? Let's say, I don't know if this is the average. I'm going to guess it's the average person will make partner in generally a 13 to 16 months.
I
Right.
believe you're
That
very
would
close.
be that would be my guess if I had to guess, like average followers and then how you had to build because you're going to lose some people, you're going to have some leakage in your
Right.
audience.
Yep.
Year and a half's a long time not making any money. That's
Very.
a long time, especially for this industry.
Mm-hmm.
When, I mean, if you're in this for the money, I mean, 95% of small businesses, my first company was started with $100 or less. This is not
Right.
that industry. This
No.
is not an industry that you can get into for $100 or less.
Right.
And so I think your point is well taken that you should be looking to identify revenue streams early on. But I also think that there's probably a point where once you get an audience, then you start looking at maybe some smaller things like merch, or I'll even kind of let you get into the progression. But
Yep.
the overall theme is everything that we're going to talk about after this point, not possible if you don't have an audience, right? If you
Right.
don't have a following. Where do you feel like, I mean, in your opinion, what's the simplest way for people to start generating some streams or some streams of revenue?
So I want to touch just briefly on the
Yep.
audience thing. A lot of people think audience is equal to engagement.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
It's the same. It's the same thing, and it's not.
Yep, good
You
point.
may have 1,000 followers and
Yep.
only 6 people in your chat.
Yep.
That's why there are metrics that count
Yeah.
and that matter. But at some point, you have to think likes and follows and things only carry so much weight. That's why
Right.
when you have people who are buying fake likes on Twitter or fake follows and subs on
Or any follow for
YouTube,
follow on any of the yeah.
if it doesn't have a genuine person behind it who's going to come show up and engagement is all that matters. So if you have 100 followers and 100 people in your chat, you're crushing it. If you have
Yeah.
1,000 followers and 5 people are in your chat, you've done something wrong. There's probably something weird happening. And
Yeah.
so what you want ultimately is engagement. You want people in your chat. You want them talking to you.
Yep.
You want them talking to each other. You want to build a way for your audience to communicate with you, not only on stream, but off of it,
Yep.
because you're only live X hours of the day.
Yep.
That's where Discords and Twitters and social medias and all that sort of stuff comes to play.
Yeah.
And then you have to decide, what are your goals? Is it a hobby? Is it a job? Is
Yeah.
it a career?
Yep.
Is it a business? What is it that you want? And then
Right.
you start reverse engineering it. Like, okay,
Mhm.
what do I need to do to get to my goals?
Yeah.
And then when you have an audience, you have to actually be careful how you start to extract dollars from that audience. Because if you're,
Yes.
hey, I need $50 to get food today. Oh, guys, I forgot. I need $100 for the light bill tomorrow. You're going to lose that audience right away.
Yeah.
You have got to provide value to them, not only in form of your content, because that's already the deal. I'm going to watch you for your content.
Yep.
That's the exchange initially.
Yep.
Now, if you want me to do more, I need more.
Yeah.
Now, there are going to be awesome people who are going to support you financially. On Mixer, we'll use
Yep.
Embers. We'll have donations. That will come. You will have a few really great people that are going to do that. That's going to be the exception, not the rule.
Yep.
You're going to have far more people who are going to come and watch you and take. They're going to be the takers. They're going to enjoy your content. They're going to enjoy getting clout from you. They are going to use you. They are going to come into follower games. They're only going to play games with other streamers because it raises their clout within the community, and they're going to siphon off of you, and they're going to become their own streamer or their own product. And that's just going to happen. What you need to focus on is the people in between. The people that you can provide value to, that you can have be part of your genuine community, who are going to show up based on what you provide to them, and every once in a while extract something from them in exchange.
Yep.
And it's okay. And I had this conversation with Delta early on, and I still remind him now, it's okay to have a dono goal. He's like, well, I wasn't raised to ask for money. You're not asking for money.
Yeah.
You're communicating with your audience when they give you money, what you're using that money for.
Yep.
It's a mindset shift. You have to be able to not only offer, but you have to be able to receive. You have to be okay with. Now, I don't necessarily agree with people who are always like, give me.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the way to do things.
Yeah.
but I think there is a fair time to say, hey guys, I provide you guys a lot of value, and you think nothing of paying $15 a month for Netflix, and you're in this stream a hell of a lot more than you're on
Yeah,
Netflix.
it's fair.
Can a bro get $15?
Yeah,
I think there's a way you frame that so it's not
for
quite as
sure.
punch in the face and on the nose, but I
For
think it
sure.
ultimately comes down to that. I'm providing a value,
Yeah.
and this is my job. This is my
Yep.
business. This is my career, and I want it to grow. And I think it's perfectly acceptable to do that. I think when you're brand building, you might have to give a few things away for free or deeply discounted. You might need to use influencers. You might need to do giveaways.
Yeah.
But you have to just be careful that that's not all you're known for, all you're there
Right,
for.
right.
If you do giveaways nonstop to get to your 2,000 followers,
Yeah.
you're not going to get to 2,500 followers if you cut that giveaway off. Are
Right.
you okay giving away stuff every single stream for the rest of your life? Because
Right.
you just painted yourself as the giveaway streamer.
Yeah. I think the other side of it too is your audience isn't naive, right? Like your audience isn't sitting here being like, "Oh yeah, this dude can totally survive on me just like watching him," right? And I think, I think learning how to receive monetary donations can be challenging for some people, and I think you're right. And the mindset is they don't place enough value on what they're doing. Right. And so it's this healthy balance of if you don't place enough value on what you're doing, you're not going to ask often enough, and you're not going to. It's going to be really hard for you to generate anything sustainable. Yeah, that's right. And then the other side of the coin is if you do overvalue, right? If you overvalue your service and what you're doing, and I've definitely seen that before. I remember like the 6th week that I was on the entire platform, go into this individual stream, and this individual has their monthly rent payment. Right. And I guess the last month they also had their monthly rent payment. I go back and I check and this month they got their monthly rent payment. Like I don't know. I'm not sure that I'm on board.
It's
with
funny,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Because
I'm not sure that I'm on board with that.
Yeah. As someone who donates.
Yeah.
I know once I give you a gift, it's yours, right? And
right.
you can do anything you want with it. And intellectually, I know you're probably going to take some of this money and pay your bills with it because it's your job, right?
Right. Right.
But when you put up each individual incremental bill that you pay on stream, it feels a bit panhandle-ish. It feels a bit, like woe is me. Like I need you to pay for me. And so one of my emotional reactions is, okay, if you have the time to stream and you're streaming 10 hours a day, multiple days a week, and you're an adult, shouldn't you be in a place to allow you to do that? Like you shouldn't have made the decision to be a full-time streamer yet. Your bills should be covered. Right. So in my opinion, when you're first starting
what a statement. Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I think you're right. I just don't think that's common.
No, I don't. I think a lot of people see the Shrouds and the Ninjas and they think, well, I can play video games for all day long and I'll make some money. And even if I make a percentage of what they make, they don't realize they're not going to make a percentage, let alone a piece of a percentage.
And they think that irregardless of the entertainment value, the amount of effort that they've put in, all this stuff. So let's come up with like a metaphor to like describe this feeling of, or like what the equivalent, like the real world equivalent is of somebody having like their utility bill on there every month or their rent payment on every month. Have you ever been auto-graded at a restaurant? Where you had like 6 or more, and they put an auto gratuity.
18%.
18, yeah, like they put an auto gratuity, right?
Hate it.
My real world equivalent of somebody having that on there all the time, the expectation to donate is like, I take the lady out for a nice dinner, bill comes, I pay the bill, and then the waitress stands there
with a handout. Yeah. Yep.
Time to pay the piper, right? Time to pay the piper. It's like, are you what? Because in all actuality, me as a patron of the restaurant, I understand that I'm going to be giving you a tip. I understand that you've just provided me a service, right? Now that's the social contract that we've just established, right? I'm going to provide you a service, I'm going to provide you value, and you're going to return that value. Whatever the value is that you think that I think that you've just brought into my life, right? Now there are some kind of numerical kind of guidelines and stuff like that, right? Sure. That sort of thing. But isn't that like a violation of like this understood social contract if you just have that up there all the time? Like, why do I
Agreed.
want to give that to you? I don't want to give
Right.
that to you. What I want to do is I want you to do your thing. I want you to do and add the value, right, that we've agreed upon. And then
Right.
if you've done a good job, and I'm not, I mean, there are shitty people, but if I'm not a shitty person, I'm going
Right.
to give you the tip that would have ended up in your hand anyway. But here you are,
Right.
just sitting here with your hand out. So
Yeah. It's
yeah, this damn fly
whatever
killing
you
me.
call that. Yeah,
It's right there.
that's it.
Loves my light.
It speaks to mistrust,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Because
yes. Oh, it's so good. That's a great point.
so I hate being auto gratuitous. I don't care if I have a party of 100 people. I'm going to tip appropriately. My bare minimum start tip is 20%. Even if it's bad service, you're getting 20%.
Yep. Yep.
Because I understand what it comes from humble beginnings. I know what it is to serve. I get it.
Yep.
So when I get auto gratuity at 18%, that I was going to pay more than that anyway, and I usually add on it anyway because I was going to start at 20. But it just irritates me because I'm like, bro, no one asked you to do this. I got this.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's frustrating when things like that happen, and I totally get your point when you see that up there. You know, and as soon as one dono goal is hit, immediately next one's up.
Oh
A dono goal should be a very specific, limited thing. Now, if you have a monthly one and it rotates month to month, I'm fine with that because it's over a period of time and it's not something you hit in one day or one show or whatever, and then you put up another one.
Yeah.
But you know, when you give someone a gift, whether it be a donation or an actual gift, that becomes their thing, and whatever they want to do with it is fine. Anytime you give a gift and there's expectation that comes along with it, that's manipulation and not a gift at all.
When there's this like this expected reciprocity, right?
Yes,
this
I
quid
hate
pro quo.
So much.
Yeah,
it's so gross. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
But yeah, people just need to be okay with providing value.
Yep.
And if they truly believe in what they're doing in their heart of hearts, and they are truly providing the value that they believe they should, I genuinely believe, for the most part, that is going to come back to them if they do things in the right way.
Yeah.
If you let your audience know you need them to step up and dono because you've got an unusual circumstance, I've seen incredible things happen on this platform. But you can't do that too often. You can't have
that can't be a
house
thing.
fire every week. Like your car can't blow a transmission the first of the month every damn month.
Right.
It needs to be special circumstances.
Yeah. And I think it just goes back to trust. It just goes back to trust. It goes back to can you build trust? Like, you don't have a community if your community doesn't trust you. 100%. You know? Yeah, I like it. Talk about affiliates. What is an affiliate deal, and how would you recommend going about setting that up? Because I think people often they think affiliates and sponsorships are the same thing, and they're not. So what is an affiliate?
So there's a couple of different ways you can have an affiliate. You might have a redirect with an actual link, and they go somewhere and buy something, and since you redirected them to that place, you're going to get a percentage of those sales. You may have a code, so go to NoDogg.com and put in code, Tofty is awesome, and you'll get 10% off. And then Tofty just made himself a little bit of money on the
sale, right? You've worked out a prearranged agreement about, maybe it's a 60-40 split, or there's a percentage split where anybody that uses that code, they get the deal. Right. And then I get a fixed cut of that sale. Right.
And so that ends up being. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that. So affiliates are contingent upon the product actually selling.
Right. Exactly. So there is a win-win from the brand or the company that's giving you the affiliate. Is they got basically free marketing, or upfront marketing, I guess you would say, because the only thing that they are quote unquote losing is if they're making profit.
Low overhead marketing, right? There's no overhead.
They don't
there's
have
no
anything. They don't have any skin in the game up front.
Sure.
And what you, as a streamer, will gain is that adds a little bit of clout and a little muscle behind your name, because now you are working with brands and you have deals, and you're not just NoDogg. You're NoDogg sponsored by Coca-Cola, call me.
Yep.
So
Yep.
call me Coke. And
Yep.
so you have some, oh, he's legitimate. And then you also potentially can extract some value from your audience that you're already providing value to, because, okay, they want to go buy a new chair or a microphone or whatever the case might be. They're going to buy it anyway. You get 10% of that revenue of it being sold. You get a little bit of something. Your audience get a little
Yep.
bit of a discount,
Yep.
and then the
Yep.
company that you're affiliated with also makes money. So it's a win-win-win-win-win.
Yep.
Everybody's happy. And a lot of affiliates can make you some money. I think people get a little too star-eyed and excited about affiliates, because that's not going to bring you a true blue revenue income every single month. It's going to be few and far between where you make that happen.
Well, it's certainly not fixed. It's certainly not a fixed income, and especially if you're going to try and get yourself to a point in your business, in your life, where you can feel like you're kind of getting a little bit more stable. Because streaming is already so unstable. Owning a business 100%. Is already so unstable. And what we really want is fixed income, where every single, or at least as close to fixed as possible, right? Like
so you can mimic that too.
Yeah, like I know on average that I'm going to see 15 to 17 people, let's say 15 to 17 people a week, and I know that I can hold that average, and I've held that average, right? I can then safely predict with relative safety that I'm going to come right around that number, give or take 10% every single month. Now I know what my inputs are that month for, and streaming is no different. So affiliate can be a nice little, I guess, icing, but it's not the cake. Right. Whereas a sponsorship is a what? A sponsorship's a what?
So a sponsorship is where you have an agreement or a deal where they provide you either with product or financial resources to do something for them. Usually it's advertisement based, especially in the scope of what we're doing on stream. You'll have product placement. You'll use their headset or whatever the case may be. You make posts on your social media about it, and you have a set, okay, I'll do X number of posts per month or per week or whatever, and they are going to give you so for example, if I was sponsored by Astros, I would work out a deal with Astros. They said, look, we're going to hook you up with all of our products, so you have them there. We're going to give you our headset, we're going to give you our mix amp, wear them on stream, talk about them in stream,
maybe have a cut scene that cuts to it,
have product placement in your actual videos, maybe have a command in your chat, !Astros with a link, and then I want you to also have third-party social media. I want you to make a tweet 3 times a week that says how much you love your Astros. Do an unboxing video of once you get your Astros to show people how cool they are. You're actually a spokesperson for the product.
Right. And that will then provide, obviously, the stable. And I would imagine that it's generally one of two ways that compensation is set up. I would imagine it's just a flat rate, and we expect you to do this. What I'm going to guess is what people are going to run into is what a lot of podcasts will run into is we will pay you the sponsorship on some sort of ratio based on the number of followers, or a number in the podcast world, it's downloads, right? So if you for every 1,000 downloads, right, we're going to pay you a fixed amount, right? I imagine that a lot of streamers are going to run into that type of deal on a sponsorship, and that's if I was going to talk to somebody. And hell, maybe somebody's watching right now, but if I'm going to talk to somebody about, hey, they come to me, I want to get a sponsorship. I mean, certainly if they're just going to give you a flat rate for doing this, great, take it, run away, right? As long as it's a fair rate. Fair. And I think that's the other thing too, is I'm not sure how much is out there, education's out there, like how many impressions are worth what or whatever it is. But if I were to tell somebody, I would say, go in there hoping for that. But if you can settle with something like, we'll pay you X amount per 100 organic views that you have that way, I'm guessing that's probably going to be the type of arrangement that people are going to run into before we just like, all right, here's a couple grand every month to do this, because we know that your following is big enough, right?
Yeah, they're going to want to see analytics, and that's a huge thing as someone who's on these different platforms, is get to know your analytics. What can you measure? What can you physically? You can, hey, I'm an Austin streamer, come check me out all day long. There's like a trillion of you in their inbox all day, every day.
Hey,
send me some free headsets, bro, from every 16-year-old kid in the country. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to have to show them I have X number of viewers a day, X number of viewers per hour.
Yep.
You know, all of these metrics and analytics are hugely important to be able to back your claim that you can provide them value, because ultimately what they want is for you to provide them the value of your audience.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
Yep.
They want your list. They want your audience. They want the eyes that are on you to be on their product or their service.
Right.
And so once you go, as Toffee said, once you go and negotiate with them, you have to have a good idea of what your value is, and you have to be able to negotiate up, down, and figure out what's a win for you and what's a win for them. And when you're early on, you may have to take less so you can build a build a rapport with the company, and then renegotiate later, or move to a different company. And once you're more established and things of that nature. But you should always look to make it a win-win. And if you can have a conversation with the knowledge, if they say, all right, NoDogg, for every 100 viewers that you have organically on your channel during a session, we'll give you X dollars or X percentage of this or that or the next thing, whatever it is that you guys are coming up with. If you already know, all right, well, I have 700 followers. You know, if you have those messages, you are more equipped to negotiate and know what your value actually is. There are some things coming out that you can look at to try to find values and talk to your counterparts, but a lot of people have non-disclosure agreements. They're keeping that stuff clutched tightly to their chest because they don't want someone to come take their spot at Astros or at whatever. They want to stay in their spot. So you have to be able to make some assumptions, but for the most part, when you're doing sponsorship deals, what you want to do is make sure that when you are going to your audience and asking them for their attention to shift from what you are normally providing them, what you're normally doing, to basically a commercial, right? It's what it ends up being.
It's impressions.
Is that they focus on the commercial, and if they're genuinely going to support you and support that company, that they also provide feedback as such. They fill out a survey that, oh, I love my new Astros. I was directed here by NoDogg. Like, those things matter. If you can put that in your portfolio in your next negotiating meeting, and you say, hey, look, I sent 300 people to buy from you, and I have people in public forums saying they bought from you because of me, you just carry that much more weight in your negotiations.
100%. And I think too, this ties back to why it's so important to have the audience on the social media, right? Because not only can you, there are websites, I know DeCook put one in the chat, mixerstats.com, and there are a few others, I think, if you're on Twitch, if you're watching this on Twitch, they have their own as well, where you can track your analytics, your actual impressions, but also all your social media also has very easily, and I can see on Instagram what our last post, how many impressions that reached, and that's really what they want, right? And this actually brings back a good point, because I saw Delta in the chat made a really great point, and I think he said something along the lines of, most streamers won't pull an average organic viewership of 1% of their following, right? So for those at home, that's, if you've got 1,000 people, right, 1% is what, 10? Right. So, I mean, think about how many people you see with these massive followings, 5,000 people, and they can't pull 50 average viewers, right? Because, and I said this, I think, like day one of this show, it doesn't matter how many people click the follow button, it's how many people come back, right? Because in all honesty, if you go to a company and you're like, yeah, I've got like 5,000 followers. Their first question they're going to ask is, how many people watch you? How many average impressions? How many weekly organic impressions are you going to get? Right? How can you break that down by the stream? Right? That sort of thing. And I think that's where, again, I would rather have somebody have a small but mighty following. We've had, Dad Tality came on the show
100%.
2-3 times, right? He's got a very small but mighty following, right? And then that's reliable, and that's of value. When I know that I've also seen people apply with 3 times his following count that have been denied for partnership, right? So let's make sure that we're really, and I see this so much where people just aren't focused on what matters in the industry, and it's really about how many eyes can you pull.
It's all about the engagement. It's all about your community coming back, interacting, staying around, talking to you on and off stream, having that, because honestly, the psychology of most people that interact, there are going to be lurkers. That's going to happen. Interact. One of the first things that they are going to want is your attention. So they'll say hi to you. They want you to say hi back. They want you to use their username and physically say, "Hi Delta, hi Tofty,"
Yep.
and the only thing they want more than that is access.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they can
Mm-hmm.
get access to you, whether it be follower games,
Yep.
you follow them back on
Yep.
Twitter,
Yep.
when they've tagged you in something, if you can create that connection
Yep.
by actually engaging with them,
Yep.
um, or providing them some level of access outside of them just watching you play a video game,
Yep.
they're more likely to come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you start building those friendships and relationships, and then everything grows from there.
I think a common question, if I think about probably one of the biggest questions that people will have after seeing this conversation, would be, you say to start early, but how early is too early, or at what point do you really feel like you can start pursuing some of these conversations, whether it's affiliates, which I'm guessing is kind of where everybody will start with, that'll be the first door that will open.
Sure.
In your opinion, what would be, from what you've seen, when would you really suggest people start at least taking some of their precious focus every single week and directing it towards pursuing some of those relationships?
So I think getting started in streaming in general, there's no right or wrong time when to start. I say start as early as you can with as little to no equipment as you have. Like if you have an Xbox, the one thing I would tell you to get is to get a camera, and that way you can pay attention to chat and they can see you. Other than that, get going. As far as reaching out towards affiliates and sponsors and trying to earn an income or some sort of funds to then put back into the stream, so then you can buy more things. You can buy a PC, you can buy extra monitors,
Right.
you can
Right.
you can reinvest in the business, and then actually hopefully earn an income
Yep.
to extract real dollars out of.
Yep.
I think you have to have a presence of some sort before you go, because otherwise
Yep.
you're pushing water uphill, and you may even burn bridges. If you go to Astros and you have 200 followers and one guy show up in your stream, and your bot account that shows two guys in your in your stream, it's your bot for the chat, it's your my brother watching,
Yeah.
and you reach out to Astros, they're going to flag. Like, they have hundreds if not thousands of people reaching out to them
Yeah.
probably on a daily basis, and you can
Yeah.
burn a bridge. So you have to be a little bit careful
Yeah.
when you do it. I would say Mixer gives you some pretty straightforward analytics on when you can start to be considered for partner. I
Yep.
think those are pretty good analytics to say, if I'm good enough to be officially partnered with the platform I'm on,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm probably in a safe-ish space
Yep.
to go exploring outside of.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's really good advice. I think, yeah, I mean, because it makes a statement. It also probably puts you in because it's that conversation is going to be all about leverage, and you don't want to get yourself in a bad deal, right? So you got to think about, even if you are given a deal before partner, how long is that deal for? What are the terms for, right? Because the worst thing that you could do is, get yourself set on something that's set on a contract that's too long, and you just explode, and you're not able to capitalize on this. So
right, there's no renegotiation,
yes.
Or even potentially worse is, did you not read the fine print? Did you not have it looked over by someone who knows contracts, an actual attorney, someone who knows what's happening? Because you just signed on the dotted line to doing a 5% affiliate deal for perpetuity, and you cannot have an affiliate deal with anyone in the space of X, Y, or Z, because it could be considered a competitor to that.
Yeah.
So now you've hampered yourself on taking other deals with other companies, things of that nature. And I think just a quick topic that I haven't mentioned is know what you sign as far as the contract goes, like I mentioned, but you also need to be aware of the rules and regulations of your area. Like Delta is in the UK and I'm in the States, so I give him advice sometimes, like, well, in the States it's this way, double check what it's like in the UK. But you should know, are you at risk when you have a business for your personal assets? Should you create an LLC? Do you need to have at a certain point, do you need to have a CPA? Are you following your tax laws? Like, these things are important. We use the term in the industry donations. This is not a 501c3. This is a for-profit business, and you cannot not report that information. That is dollars that have come into your pocket that you have to tell Uncle Sam about, or you are in violation of the IRS. You do not want them coming knocking on your door. I promise you. You don't want to be audited. You don't want those problems. So while you're first starting out, as simple as it may sound, I've only got $30 in donations. Keep a ledger.
Yep.
Keep yourself
Yeah.
in front of the laws. People are getting
Yeah.
hit all over the place with, I think it's called DMCA. Delta can tell me the right term, but with playing copyrighted music in streams, it's being hit all over the place right now. So, they can take your social medias, your stream down because you decided to play music on stream. There are copyright free music. You can look into buying license if you really want that one particular song, but you are not immune to Big Brother when you're streaming. You are in front of everyone, and so you might use an alias as NoDogg, but it's Chad Taylor's face on the screen,
right?
And they are coming to knock Chad Taylor's door.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think early on, probably like really early on, probably. And it varies by state too. Like there's a fixed amount that you can use per year before you have to like report it. Because you can technically receive a certain number of gifts. Yeah. But again, we're not CPA, so go run those numbers. But just understand that there is a number there. In my opinion too would be, once you really start, if you're thinking about becoming a partner or getting these affiliates and stuff like that, you're really ready to take that step, fill out the LLC. I mean,
it's $97 or something like that online in Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, Rocket Lawyer, LegalZoom, it's not that hard, right? And and the other, and the ability too for let's say for example that you become a partner on Mixer, and by accident somebody, not even you, but somebody in your party, and you had the party chat playing, and somebody just made a real slanderous statement right there, just they're inebriated or whatever it is.
Right.
Mixer at that point can not only ban you, but if that were to go viral and that happened on Mixer and Mixer was named, like the platform was named, well, now Mixer can come after you for damaging their brand.
100%.
And you are 100% liable, right, for that number, which unless you have an LLC, which at that point then, for the most part, in most states, it will give you some protection, maybe not all, but it will give you some, it will give you a lot of protection against personal assets. I think that's a great point in terms of how early to start, but also, kind of setting that up. And I think that's for, I think anybody who's a partner who doesn't have everything running through an LLC is really taking a risk, really taking a risk. Yeah.
It's one of the best, in my opinion, when you're first starting out, it's one of the first $100 purchases for peace of mind that you could ever purchase in any business that you're starting, streaming or otherwise. Just because if you have anything of any value at all, or if you plan to make it so, get an LLC. There's even like monthly subscriptions that you can get to legal services where you pay $19 a month or whatever, and they will help write letters for you with legal letterhead rather, and things of that nature, so you don't have to pay the $500 retainer and hourly. There are a lot of tools that are available to people who are just starting out. You just like we were talking about earlier, if you don't know, Google that shit. Like go out to Google and type in, how do I start a business? It sounds generic as shit. It will get you where you need to be.
I mean, I think just go on, I think it's like LegalZoom, and it's like you literally just answer a series of questions and then it spits out a document for it. Yeah.
And then you have some legitimacy to you when you go to your affiliates, when you go to your partner, they're going to pay you. Well, they're going to want to have your tax information. They need to know when they're paying you. They're reporting it that it's being paid out, so they know you've gotten the money. You can't really hide it. Like if you because of the mass of things that are reported, you might go unchecked or unseen for a while. Eventually, you're going to get seen. It's gonna happen.
I can't imagine. I haven't gotten that call.
I've never.
Knock on wood that I don't get that call, but I can't imagine that call ever is fun, right? To IRS is knocking on the door, but
they want to go through the final.
You ready for the final four?
Yeah, I think
we're only $1:45 into this, so that's great.
That
I love, only an hour 45. I love it.
I'm gonna be your longest show today.
You will, you probably will. We'll see. Maybe Gaga will get word of that and he'll be like, NoDogg, nope.
Well, his competitive nature.
We're going 3 hours. I'm gonna be here just dead
with a 6 hour difference for you guys,
right? Yeah.
That's a beautiful
So
thing.
we're gonna do a little bit. So final four, we end every show with these four questions. I'm gonna modify the questions a little bit. We're
Okay.
actually gonna talk a little bit more, kind of run things through kind of the framework of your business, right? So not the career, but your business, Taylor Solutions, and then the other one, that sort of
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
Question number one: if you could go back and change one decision you've made in your business, what would it be?
Start sooner.
Yeah.
I think, um, again, battling those fears of, can I do it? Am I going to fail? What are they going to say if I fail?
Yeah. Yeah.
All of those sorts of things. Starting sooner and sticking to it consistently,
Yep.
rather than having a multitude of little hustles here and there,
Yeah.
and being okay with extracting a few dollars just to have a few extra bucks in the bank account,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to building something
Right.
of my own.
Right.
I would have done, 20 years ago, as opposed to 5 or 6 years ago. And I think people realizing there's no reason to wait. Like, literally, what are you
Mm-hmm.
waiting for?
Yeah.
We have one life, and without getting spiritual and all that kind of stuff, we have one life on this earth to make what is that we want made of.
Right.
And what are you waiting for? Like, all I'm going to be from 5 years now is 5 years older.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah. Yeah. Number two, if you were to restart your business tomorrow from scratch, what is the first thing that you would do?
So I actually, you sent me the final four earlier, and I it's funny, you're switching me on the fly here. I like it. I actually wrote down some cliff notes what I'm gonna do, but it's the same. It ends up being the same answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I would build a roadmap. It'd be a 30-day roadmap
Yep.
of how to go from zero to hero and be fully operational in 30 days, so I can eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Sure.
Because I'm not going to get my business back tomorrow like that.
Right.
So day one, I wake up. Day one, I'm going to start my plan.
Yep.
Day one, what am I going to do? I'm going to get my LLC.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to do the next step and the next step.
Right.
And so that way I can incrementally get back to where I want to be. So
Yeah.
I think building a roadmap, building a plan would be the first thing.
Yeah, the term that I've heard, and it's not my term, that I've heard coined is, it's like your MINS, right? MINS. So like, most important next step. Yep. And if you just identify, and it's been that's been such a hack for me too. If you can just identify, okay, I want this, but right now, what's the most important next step? Not 5 steps down the road, because that can become overwhelming. Like, what can we do right now? Just one thing, right?
Yep.
Love it. This one we will keep in the streaming industry, because I know you do have a lot, you've been around it for a while. If you had the power to change one thing about the streaming industry, what would that thing be and why?
So I think there's 2 things. The first is its image as a whole.
Yeah.
I think streaming and content creation in general is kind of still so new, even though it's a little bit more common now than even a couple years ago that it was. It kind of have a stigma. If you go out and tell your parents, "Hey, mom, I'm going to be a streamer," I think it's just very misunderstood on the outside about what type of value you can actually bring and what type of actual income, because there's all the pie in the sky, the Strouds, the Ninjas, the esport gods that are making tens of millions of dollars, right?
Right.
But let's talk realistic. There are real economics in esports and in streaming and in content creation, and you can make a comfortable life for yourself. Say everybody wants to make $100,000 or $1 million over a certain period of time, whatever. You could it's simple. It may not be easy, but it's simple. You could very simply, doing the right things, make a career doing something that you're passionate about, something that you love, in streaming, as opposed to making the same or maybe even just a little bit more of having a regular job.
Mm-hmm.
So I think getting rid of that stigma and showing that it's a true viable place where someone could go make 50 grand a year, which is a very middle class, easily livable income.
I think the earning average in our country is less than that. Like the
It's
average,
40,
and I think that's the household income.
Household, correct.
I think the average household, 2 people or 2 people combined, is 42.
A family,
right?
Exactly.
So
it's like 42. Yeah.
So yeah.
So you could make 50 grand a year. I think that's a very reasonable number people could hit, doing that they do the right things, they establish the community. I think that's very, very doable. And it's just getting that image and stigma out of people's, like, oh, it's just some pothead playing video games in his mom's basement, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Because
Yeah.
that's the stigma. And then the other thing is, I think I would change the ugly tribal toxicity between
Mm,
gamers, the PC versus console, the Xbox versus PlayStation, the Mixer versus Twitch. I don't love Fortnite. It's not my forte. I am so happy Fortnite blew up a couple years ago and made battle royales a thing and other things come out, because the more options we have as gamers and consumers of video games and streaming and content creation is the better for all of us. And I'm so tired of people just shitting on each other for absolutely no reason, because people are allowed to have preferences. I'm an Xbox guy, but I'm happy PlayStation's around.
right.
Great.
Right.
Stop being so awful to each other.
Yeah. Love it. That's great advice. Last one, it's my personal favorite. We will keep this within the streaming industry as well. I mean, you've been able to be a mod for some obscure Scottish guy and a British dude as well. So,
Yeah.
last question, number 4. What do you think sets apart successful streamers from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
So I think it comes down to, we've talked about it and touched on it throughout the evening, but I think lack of taking action as a result of fear.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it comes down to they're just unable to cope with their fear, and the mechanisms that they have built for self sabotaging, for self coping, for all of these types of things that knock people down. We all struggle with it, and I think that's why I'm so passionate about telling people about, it's okay to start from humble beginnings and to improve yourself and focus on your mindset and focus on the things that you can change and surround yourself with quality people, to struggle through and be able to potentially overcome those negative feelings and thoughts that creep in, and potentially get to a point where you avoid it
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah.
I think the people who don't ever start are just literally crippled by the what ifs, and then the people who start and don't really see through, have the same things, and eventually let that
Yeah.
negative self talk and the negative things that are influencing them take over. And then the people that fail, I think, they focus on problems versus solutions.
Yeah.